We want to acknowledge a few folks who are in our audience. All of you are VIPs. And you know what VIP stands for? It's very important that you pay. So we appreciate that. We want to acknowledge a few people who have touched us in a very special way over the years with their financial contributions and also with their moral support. We would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge some folks, and we apologize for those of you who I might miss. But we have in the house Dr. Jameel Wright, who is the president of Eureka College. Please stand. Eureka College, founded by abolitionists. And she is, of course, the first African-American, first female president of Eureka College. I neglected to mention in the list of BBA members a brother who has been around for a while, always conscious, always in the struggle, and who cares deeply for our community. Charles Minor and his wife are here, and Charles just opened a store. It's Minor Things. Please stand. You know, over the year or two, there have been a number of black businesses opening in Peoria. Have you noticed that? We have a number of restaurants that are new. We encourage you to check them out. Go to our BBA Facebook page, our website, PNV, and the Minortiy Business Development Center to patronize these businesses and to keep dollars recycling in our community. Brother who says he had a short-lived run for mayor but will have a longer run as a business owner is Chuck Brown, who is taking the old Aldi's building and says in the year 2022 there will be a new grocery store there. Let's give him a round of applause. Also in the house, we're acknowledging Larry Ivory this evening as the president and CEO of the Black Chamber of Commerce. And I don't know if you knew this or not, or maybe you do, but the president and CEO of the Greater Peoria Area Chamber of Commerce is a brother, Joshua Gunn. So we have a number of heavy hitters in the house, and we want to just thank them for being here. And again, thank all of you for attending and helping us as we met our financial goal. And Denise and I did find a seat. So there are two people out there driving around trying to find WPNV because they got a temperature of 106.3. So I apologize in advance for that. So I'm sure I'll get to see those people later. Right now, we want to bring on our keynote speakers. We have two keynote speakers this evening. And I want to just start by saying there's an icon in West African culture called the Sankofa Bird. And the Sankofa Bird is a bird that is walking forward but looking backwards. The Sankofa Bird sings a very strange song. The song sounds more like sacred words than the words of any song. The Sankofa Bird looks backwards while it marches forward. The implication is that as we go into the future, we learn from our past. And the other thing is that our two speakers tonight implore us to look into our past, that we might be better in this present day, and that our children will be even greater tomorrow. Both Linda Nance and Agbara Bryson are pillars of our communities. They are warriors for the people. Their biographies, if you look in your program, are too lengthy to be read this evening, for they will take us into midnight. But their wisdom comes like daybreak to a weary people looking for rays of hope. I got to meet Akbar Bryson many, many years ago. And you may know Akbar as the teacher, author, mentor, scholar, founder of the New Millennium Institute. But I know him as the brother who would take $5 out of my pocket and claim that he just found it on the floor. Akbar is a brother who I could call on any hour of the day to share and reason and contemplate and strategize a better way for our youth. A brother who truly, truly loves his people and cares about our youth to devote countless hours to developing lesson plans to keep them from falling into society's traps, or as he puts it, to keep them from tripping. If you don't know where you are going, you could end up somewhere else. And so it would appear that we, as a people, have ended up somewhere other than the place we should be. And that because we didn't know where we were supposed to go, we have not learned from our past. Right now, in the healthcare industry, we know that we've had some issues as far as COVID hesitancy. And that speaks to people not learning from their past. We know about Tuskegee, we know about Henrietta Lacks, and we know about the horrible experiments that were done on black people. But we also know that we have science now, and we can learn from that science. In the hair care industry, we used to have soft sheen, afro sheen, luster products, etc. Now, a lot of that industry is not controlled by us. How did that happen? What did we not learn about our past? Akbar Bryson founded the New Millennium Institute, and that's really all I thought he was about until I came up with a play called Black to the Future, which chronicled Peoria's history. It was a book by Dr. Romeo B. Garrett called The Negro in Peoria that traced black people from John DuSable, who founded the city of Chicago but lived in Peoria for 10 years, all the way up to Dr. Garrett. And we did a play where two young people go back in the past and they meet all these historical figures. And one of the figures they met was Annie Malone, who taught Madam C.J. Walker. And after the play was over, Akbar, this brother who would always kid me about I owe him $5 and, you know, where'd you get those shoes and stuff like that. After the play was over, he came up to me and he said, you know, Annie Malone is my great, great, great aunt. And I said, get out of here. Are you, you know, I didn't know if he was joking or not. But then a little later, he came out with a book. And then he came to our radio station with Linda Nance, the head of the Annie Malone Historical Society. So he was serious. So I've learned to take Akbar very seriously. And tonight, I encourage you to take him seriously as he imparts some much needed wisdom about our past as he tells his story of his great, great aunt, Annie Turnbull Malone. Please give a warm welcome to Peoria's own James Akbar Bryson.
Annie Monroe. That's just like what's the lady with Marilyn Monroe? It's like Marilyn Monroe. I had her as Annie Monroe. So, that's my stuff working. So after looking at that, that kind of upset me. grandparents. Who got that? Who got a book? Okay, so I want you to turn to page. Rest y'all gotta get books to know where we at in our lesson. So I want you to turn to page 2. In page 2, those are my grandparents who ended up running Peoria College. And so after their death, they left my mom with a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, my mom and my daughter, they threw away a lot of stuff. But after watching Netflix, I knew that I had to do something. And what I did is what stimulated this book. So I'm going to I only got a few minutes. I was told only 30 minutes to get through this. So let's go on this journey. First of all, I'm Annie Malone's great-grand-nephew. Let me see if I can get this to work. It's broke? See, I'm broke. Now what I'm gonna do? So, I'm gonna talk to you about my memories. Now, I never met Annie Malone. I was a baby. But on page 2 in the book that you can get back there, where my grandparents were, that's who I visited, was my grandparents. So I'm just gonna share my memories as I, okay, so go back. I said, it's gonna be fun right here, this creative stuff here. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back and share my memories of going to the farm where my grandparents lived. So my memories of the farm, they're rich. The farm was like my sanctuary. See, did y'all know I was raised in public housing? Is that a yes or no? Yeah, I was raised in public housing, to have homes. So we need sanctuaries. And so my sanctuary was my grandparents' farm. It was a place of peace, love, and adventure. I remember my uncles, who were very loving and spent time with me between their chores. Now, how many of y'all been on a farm, live on a farm? Well, you know what I'm talking about, chores. That's when you really, really work. But my uncle, I was blessed to be around loving men. That's a blessing. That's a rarity and that's a blessing. And all of my uncles on my mother's side as well as my father's side were very loving men. So we had chickens, we had cows, we had corn, big old corn, and a bunch of other stuff. Cherry trees, all that kind of stuff. It was just like being down Mississippi, which I've never been, but they say it was. And all that time, I was their only nephew. So they kind of spoiled me. So I went fishing. I gathered chicken eggs. They had chicken house, gathered chicken eggs out of the hen house. I drove tractors. I shot guns. And I helped feed the animals. And I explored the land. So I caught a lot of frogs. I caught a lot of toads, minnows, because we had a creek. So that was my self-help at that point in time. However, it was real scary at night. Y'all, raise your hand who been on the farm again. Put your hand out like that. You can't even see your hand. You say, what is that? You don't even know. That's how dark it was. That was scary. It was so dark that when you stretch your arm out, you couldn't even see your hand. When we would come from Peoria at night and turn into the farm driveway, we could see hundreds of owls glowing, their eyes glowing in what they call the grove. Florence, you remember that? So you go in there and it looked like fireworks. Those were owls with their eyes glowing. I mean, that was just like stars to me. So it was an amazing sight. So as time passed, and my uncles, they eventually moved off the farm. and started living their own lives. My Uncle Junior, who was Roland Jr., lived close and would visit and help my grandpa and grandmother Moody with some of the chores on the farm. Now, I didn't do too many chores. When they started talking about doing chores, I got sick. Although my uncles were on the farm less, I continued to frequent the farm. So I would go out to the farm probably 4 or 5 times a month. Beautiful. As I got older though, I came to realize that my grandparents and his brothers, they were in Chicago a lot. I remember seeing a lot of Poro brochures. Is that working yet? Okay. I remember seeing a lot of Poro brochures, pictures, and products around the house. But I wasn't aware of the role that Poro had until my grandmother, my mom told me, and my grandmother died. So imagine this picture. One day you see farmers in farmer clothes with the bibs and all that and boots. The next day you see them in suits. So where are you going? Well, we're going to Chicago, but I never knew really why. As I continued to visit my grandparents on the farm through my grandfather's death, 1989, after his death, my grandmother continued to live there. Oh, I gotta go back here. What a surprise, I gotta go back. So I'm back that I didn't know the role of my grandparents. But what a surprise to learn that my grandparents were balancing farming and serving as Poro executives. That's on page 2 in the book. Get the book and you see what I'm talking about. But at that time, I didn't know how significant this was. In the early 80s, I noticed that my grandparents were doing more farming and less traveling. I didn't comprehend that the Poro empire had fallen. I continued to visit my grandparents on the farm through my grandfather's death. After his death, my grandmother continued to live there. While she was gathering chicken, one day when she was gathering chicken eggs, she fell on some ice. Now, my grandma was early 80s and she fell on the ice. She was still very active, still doing some farming and stuff, and she broke her hip. My grandmother laid on the ice, maybe half hour, 45 minutes, and thank God, one of the neighbors came by and saw her on the ice. If he wouldn't have came by and saw her on the ice, she was on the way to being frozen. She was so cold that they had to, once she went to the hospital, they had to take her blood out, warm it up, and put it back in her body. So thank God for the neighbors. Thank God, thank God. But from that time on, my mother and I cared. After she fell, my mother and I cared for my grandmother. She got so she couldn't do a lot, and so she came and lived with us. After my grandmother died, they left my mother a whole bunch of stuff. It looked like junk. And my mom and daughter treated like junk. They just threw a whole bunch of stuff away. But the stuff that remained is just a fraction of what we had. And so, as you look at the book, you just realize, at least I didn't know that Annie Malone, Aunt Annie, had such an impact upon the world. I didn't know who she was. But after looking at the things, I said, this woman is a game changer. Now, y'all know me, I do a lot of stuff, and I'm thinking that's me. All right, let's go through ancestral guidance. That wasn't me. That was me being guided. That was me being guided through my ancestors, Annie Malone. Annie Malone, one generation from slavery, and then I'll let you talk about all that stuff, but so was my family. One generation from slavery, and was able to accomplish all that she did. And so, I feel that, I'm being guided, just like you're all being guided, but you might not know who you're being guided by. But once you understand that your ancestors are guiding you, and Chuck, you being guided, everyone in here. But once you understand that connection of ancestral guidance, that gives you purpose. Okay, all right, let's go to the next one. So I'm gonna talk about the connection, the Peoria connection. Now, Annie Malone was orphaned when she's about 6 or 7. Go ahead and take the next one. So shortly after her mother and father died, she came to Peoria. Now, that's Annie's mother there in the middle, Ada. She came to live with Ada Moody. Go ahead and take the next one. Now, that was Annie when she was probably about 17 years old or so. And she brought her younger sister, Laura, with her. Annie had, what did she have? 11 brothers and sisters, but only 2, well, see, some Turnbulls came too, but that's her younger sister, Laura, who also came to Peoria to live with Ada. Go ahead and take the next one, please. Now, that's the house that she lived in Peoria. Right there on State Street. Y'all remember State Street? Anybody remember State Street? Close to John's Barbecue and all that? Well, she lived someplace there. Now, that was a good house back in that day. Good house, but as you can see those names and things, my grandmother was a meticulous record keeper, thank God. So that's the house that she lived at here in Peoria. Take the next one, please. Those are the Moody's. Now, Florence, I'm still trying to figure out where these cats got their money from. Look at them. I don't know if they're Moody Bible Institute or what, but everything I got, they're all in suits. Now these slaves, now remember, some of these slaves, one generation from slaves dressing like that. Now the guy with the beard, his name is Robert. I'm gonna tell you a quick story about Robert. He bought his father out of slavery. He owned his father. Think about that. He owned his father. And the lady right next to him, that's Mother Moody. Mother Moody is the one that taught Annie all the herbs and things that you need to live and heal. But I'm gonna tell you something, if you a slave, you better find out for them roots and leaves and stuff if you wanna live. So she was a herbist. Many call her a chemist, and she was kind of a chemist, but more of a herbist. So the lady there on the right with the guy in the center, that was really the mentor, the teacher of Annie Malone with the formula. Take the next one, please. Y'all can see all them pictures in the book. That's Ada on the left. That's her sister. Y'all see all the folks in the middle? Them the Moody's. This is the family that was already made when Annie Malone came to Peoria. And every last one of them really accepted her as her own child. That handsome man to the right, that's my great-grandfather. This is Annie's sister, brother-in-law, but these are my grandfathers on page 2. Parents. Okay, take the next one. So there's a little controversy about dates and time. Then I'm going to share with you. There they go. I'm gonna just share with you. I got an Annie Malone death certificate, birth unknown. Okay, so I gotta run through this so y'all know where that is. That's Central. She went to Central. She never graduated. Go ahead and take the next one. That's Mother Moody. That's the one that taught her all the crafts and all the herbs and things. Mother Moody. Now, how many of y'all went Central? Don't lie. Y'all never did see that, did you? Y'all should be having your hands up knowing who she is. You should be up here telling us a story. But you never pay attention. So that's back in the back on that wall. Go ahead and take the next one. There's that little bitty thing about this big. Take the next one. So this is Ada, this is my grandfather, and this is who Annie Malone lived with. She lived with my uncles, my grandfather, all that group right there. Next, y'all know where Tanner's Orchard is? That's where she lived, close to Tanner's Orchard. She bought a series of robots house for them. Take the next one, please. Oh, see that's big money right there. Back in that day, I think that's 1918, $1,000. That's like $1 million now. Is that right, Charles? I don't know. You would say $1 million. And guess what? We still bank at that bank. Spear. Take the next one, please. So those are my uncles again. She sent all them to college. Every last one of them to college. Take the next one, please. That's the Moody house. Y'all see that lady on the left on the roof? Can y'all see it look like a ghost? Those are some of the poor road students who would come and visit the house, and they would stand on the roof. I don't know what that means. Go ahead and take the next one, please. There is a picture of the farm. It's 160 acres, and Malone bought 2 farms from my peopleses. Take the next one. Those right there, those are my star uncles who also went to Central. Set state records, football, as well as track. Well, we got some bad people. Go ahead. That's the farm. All them turkey, y'all thought I was lying. See all that stuff on there? Turkeys and chicken and all that. Go ahead, take the next one. That right there, Annie Malone would write my uncles, particularly my grandfather, quite often. This is one of the postcards. What did that say? 19 what? Operator. What did that say? I only got 8 minutes. Never mind. I'm gonna make up. 1925. Okay. Go ahead and take the next one, please. Y'all know that guy in the middle? I gotta tell y'all everything, don't I? Joe Louis. That's who we hang around with. Joe Louis and them. Wait a minute, I'm gonna tell you though. Florence, I think my folks was gangsters too. Okay, all right. Go ahead and take the next one. Aunt Annie finally died. Oh Lord. Oh, 3 minutes. Okay, there you go. Where the $5 at? So Aunt Annie died 1957. That's her obituary there. I'm gonna tell you something. She had to move. She had a pimp daddy. Oh, I'm gonna let you tell her. But she had a pimp daddy who tried to take all the money. She never recovered from that. She was 60 years old and moved to Chicago from St. Louis. She had to sell all that stuff that pimp daddy tried to take. Okay, go ahead. Now, this is probably the most important thing that you can get from the book right over there next to the wall. The 5 principles that led to her success. And Chuck, we talked about these. Vision. Annie Malone had a vision. She came from divinity. Her middle name was a name of divinity, Greek goddess. Now, I don't know where slaves have that knowledge, but she had a plan, she had a vision. She was able to connect the heavens to earth and have a divine vision. She also had a plan of action. Vision ain't nothing if you ain't got no plan of action. Can't see where you're going, just walking around, but she had a plan of action. 75,000, okay, I'm gonna say this one now and let you have it. 75,000 agents at a time, slavery, black, feminine, being a woman. Wake up, Chuck. Come on. Got some coffee. Gotta get on it. So she had a plan of action, but more important, she was one of the first servant leaders. What we're seeing here, a lot of you are servant leaders. She empowered personal and community empowerment. Don't we need that now? Y'all see them fools fighting at schools? Carter talking about me going to school. I ain't going there fighting like that. But if we can teach our young folks servant leadership, ain't gonna be no fights. It's gonna be giving back. Giving back. Can't see that other one. What the hell was that? Resilience. Without resilience, you can't do nothing. What do resilience mean? Don't start lying. You done got quiet now, ain't it? Be able to bounce back. You have to have resilience. Resilience. And then the last one that really got Annie Malone through her trials and tribulations, which in my opinion, Chuck, I ain't no preacher yet, but I'm thinking about it, is what I see going on, is what I think our young folks and folks are suffering from a spiritual void. When you have a spiritual void, something fills that void up. And we've seen it. Self-destruction, homicide, genocide, self-hate. You have to have a spiritual void. And this is where we really need our spiritual warriors to come out and take back what we used to have. You know how powerful the church used to be. Annie Malone could not have been Annie Malone without all 5 of these things, but especially having a spiritual foundation. Is that my last one? All right, that's my last one. Y'all give me a round of applause now. Thank you. You can get the book over there.
Another round of applause for my brother, Agbar Bryson. So as you can tell, the Annie Malone legacy is deep, and it started, as he mentioned, at Peoria High School. And it is profound that we just recently had an unfortunate situation at Peoria High, because we have to learn from our past. And Agbar is absolutely right. We need that spiritual foundation. And if our young people had in their minds and in their hearts this desire to serve their community, then we wouldn't have those issues. If the Sankofa Bird song invites us to dance, then we certainly follow the steps of Linda Nance, the author, poet, singer, and the founder of the Annie Malone Historical Society in St. Louis. But more so than that, Linda is the embodiment of the fact that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Because when you meet Linda Nance, her spirit greets you first. Please welcome the founder of the Annie Malone Historical Society out of St. Louis, Missouri, Miss Linda Nance.
Can you see me above the podium? That's my challenge. But I have to be honest. I was about 30 before I understood I was short. And I don't think I'm short. I'm just not as tall as most people I meet. But I'm certain that I'm as tall as God wanted me to be. I'm delighted to be here tonight. My family knows I've had the willies for days, but I'm excited about being here. And before I talk to you about Annie Malone, I'd like to share my thanks to a couple of people. The very first one is Deborah Moore. She was kind enough to invite me here to be with you and share a little bit about something that has become more of a passion to me than I really realized it was. I'd also like to thank Cary for giving his head nod to say that, yes, Annie Malone should be one of the topics that we talk about tonight. And I really want to thank Agbar Bryson for him to be here and him to not mind me being here is a wonderful thing. I think being in the same space with the great-grandnephew of Annie Malone is just really special, and I'm not going to be forgetting that anytime soon. I came to Peoria just before the pandemic shutdowns in 2020, and I came to meet Agbar Bryson. And I learned two things very quickly. Everybody in Peoria knows that man. And the second thing I learned is he walks really fast. I could barely keep up with the man. I thought when I got here that I'd have a chance to see him address some of his students. I thought possibly I'd get to see some artifacts that I hadn't ever seen before. But that wasn't quite how things happen. I think it really would blow your hair back if you were with me on that day. We went to a high school here in town, and when we reached the classroom, there were no students in the classroom. And Akbara turned around on his heels so fast, he headed for the door, and I think he remembered later that he wasn't by himself, and he said, "Oh, you can come too." He walked quickly down the hall, and I had to get a little bit of a run on to keep up with him. As soon as the door to the room down the hall opened, you could tell that all the kids knew Akbar Bryson. They knew him very well. First thing the teacher said was, the kids said they didn't want to go to that presentation about Annie Malone. Akbar pointed to me and said, "She came all the way from St. Louis to see and talk with you about Annie Malone." I think that put me on the spot. But it didn't bother me very much. I was kind of surprised about that. Several of the students repeated that we didn't want to do that. We don't want to talk about Annie Malone. And Akbara pushed back. He tried to tell them, "Why don't you want to go and talk about the first woman who made $1 million?" And I found myself jumping right in behind him, challenging the kids and asking them, "Why don't you want to talk about Annie Malone? And why don't you want to learn something else that you don't know today?" Well, it was like herding cats, but we did convince about 10 of those children to come and hear our story. And I'm thinking, when I get into the classroom, that Akbara is now going to share with all of us information that he has about Annie Malone. And he left. And I was in the room with the kids by myself. Not a problem. I found very quickly that I reached on back and handled on some of those things that I had before working with kids, and we talked about Annie Malone, and I shared some of my little tidbits about Annie Malone, and I got those folks talking to me, and when Akbar came back in the room, he asked those kids, "Who are you all?" Because they were talking about Annie Malone, and they were asking questions about the hair care business. They wanted to know new things. Again, I'm thinking that Akbar is going to share some more information, and he just politely introduced me and went on away again. Well, that was all right. We had a good time anyway. A lot of the kids actually admitted that they liked the information that they learned. They admitted that they had an interest that they just really hadn't talked much about, and that was a good thing. In this year, I have been a visitor to the city of Peoria 3 times since May. I am beginning to recognize the buildings here and know the names of some streets, and I even know a couple of people in Peoria. Not even a month ago, I had the good fortune to be a part of the dedication ceremony as the Peoria Riverfront Museum unveiled their exhibit sharing the stories about Mother Baltimore, Free Frank McWhorter, and Annie Malone. The afternoon was a packed one. Akbara had his book signing again, and John Morris showed everyone the beautiful sign in the lobby of the museum, encouraging, really compelling people to search for the exhibit of the same name. And your local PBS station, WTVP, premiered a documentary about Annie Malone. And the Annie Malone Historical Society was prominently featured in that documentary, which made me really happy. Bill Baker, who was the person who did the interviews for the piece, did a really good job of pulling together the life of Annie Malone and addressing head-on the travesty of historical stories lost. We need to do better. All of us have stories. All of us have histories we probably don't even know about, but if we would investigate, I think we'd find some things that would make us very proud. There is no way you can tell me I have no value if I have my story. When I think over the years and decades since this country began, I think about the contributions made by people of color, particularly women of color. I am consistently left with example after example after example of excellent achievers. I found myself laughing out loud even. Women of color have posted significant achievements in practically every realm in our society, be it politics, medicine, art, literature, science, mathematics, social justice, or business. Shirley Chisholm, in 1972, with her motto, "Unbought and unbossed," was not the first African-American female running for the office of the President of the United States. It was Charlene Mitchell in 1968, and she was a Communist Party candidate. I was surprised to learn that in total, there were 11 African-American women, including Illinois' own Carol Moseley Braun, and now Vice President Kamala Harris, who are among them. Henrietta Lacks is my top of the list person for a medical achiever, because her sick cells provided the world with the HeLa cell line, green-lighting medical and scientific exploration of all kinds. They've gone into space. Her cells have helped eradicate polio in this country and helped map the human genome. Her cells are doubling approximately every 24 hours, and they've been doing that since 1951. Amy Chareld painted the White House portrait of Michelle Obama, who currently hangs, her portraits hang in the National Portrait Gallery in Washington, D.C. Toni Morrison won the Nobel Prize in Literature. And over 100 years ago, Maggie Lena Walker established herself as the first Black woman to charter a bank. Oh, I can rein it in a little bit, and I would wager that everybody here this evening is focused on the successes that can be attributed to the Black Business Alliance here in Peoria. You can talk about the Minortiy Business Development Center here in Peoria, or you can talk about your individual businesses, or at least you can recall the support you've given to that person or business you've watched go forward, ascend to, compete well. In short, they nailed it when it came to achievements in their own business endeavors. As I sat thinking about achievers, I looked for characteristics or specific attributes that could be defined as an achiever. I looked for distinctions and common denominators. I even looked at the possibility that obstacles could be a determining factor. Was there something all achievers had in common? Everyone here can identify some obstacle that stood in the way of their efforts to achieve their goals. Obstacles like determining which category to incorporate under, which documents should I file, in which offices, or when. Obstacles like not having enough startup capital, or employing the right strategies to attract supporters, your customers, or heaven forbid, investors. Obstacles like establishing fee scales, retaining customers, and coordinating schedules to get all of that stuff done. Who here hasn't had the fear that we wouldn't do well? Or the worst fear, that we would fail altogether? The question was still before me. Was there something all achievers had in common? Well, I decided all achievers have three distinct things in common that contribute to their success. Each one has discernible vision that Akbara spoke about, perspective, and perseverance. All achievers have unique abilities to visualize a desired goal and can articulate a plan to move toward that. They have the ability to see things in a fashion which allows them to prioritize activities, issues, and events in an order that is relative to their importance. And they have undaunting perseverance, which provides the stamina needed to persist despite difficulty or delay in reaching the success they've planned for. Annie Malone had all of these qualities and more. She was the pioneer blazing the trail for Black hair care and beauty. Her efforts to teach women a trade and encourage their independent entrepreneurial behaviors changed the economic paradigm for women of color, not just in Illinois or Missouri. She didn't just change things for women in the United States. Annie Malone had the presence and made a difference for women all over the world. Annie Malone was a servant leader whose vision to uplift her race established a standard of excellence and impacted multiple segments of our lives, our communities, and the world. Annie Malone, yes, spent her formative years here in Peoria. Her parents died when she was a young child, and she was raised by her sister, Ada Moody. Chronic illness prevented her from attending school on a regular basis or completing her high school studies, but it was clear she enjoyed learning. When she was able to attend school, she enjoyed her study in chemistry. She also discovered that she loved experimenting with the many herbs and potions her Aunt Sarah used to soothe her during her frequent bouts with illness. Women in the late 1800s used goose grease, heavy soaps, fats, lye, anything you can think of on their scalp. Far too often, it would infect the scalp, damage their hair follicles, and result in hair loss and sometimes permanent damage to their roots of their hair. She found, too, that some of the salves and potions that she made stimulated hair growth and helped some of Ada's friends and their neighbors get their hair back. In 1900, despite the objections from her sister Ada, Annie Malone and her younger sister Laura left Peoria for Lovejoy, Illinois. There, she purchased a one-room shack, paid $5 a month, and sold product by day and mixed it at night. Malone's creation, the wonderful hair grower, was the most popular of her products. Discrimination blocked her access to traditional avenues of marketing and advertising in that day. Let's be honest, her market was not among mainstream white people who would read traditional papers, posters, and handbills. Malone advertised widely by stories of success. Word of mouth, one satisfied customer at a time. She went door to door, personally educating her consumer. From Lovejoy, she expanded to St. Louis, hoping to get a boost in her clientele from her participation in the 1902 World's Fair. Her first location in St. Louis was on Market Street, but the fair was postponed for 2 years. Rather than wait for the fair, Malone mounted her first advertising campaign. She took a trip south, seeking to share her products with more women of color. When she returned, she held a press conference announcing her intention to open a school specifically designed to teach hair care and beauty culture to African American women. She was the first to open schools, that was with an S, across the country. The Peoria College, as it was called, was in most every state in the United States and Alaska. That surprised me. In fact, Annie Malone developed an international presence and had schools and or agents in places like Canada, Haiti, Cuba, the Bahamas, Central America, South America, Africa, and the Philippines. To ensure product would be readily available to a variety of locations, she maintained supply stations in Hartford, New York City, Newark, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Washington, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, Kansas City, Omaha, Miami, Berkeley, and Los Angeles. That's just a few. To be Peoria trained showed you took your profession seriously. It gave you prestige and status in the hair care business. Training at the Peoria College was very specific. The results were almost guaranteed as long as you followed the Peoria system. You were taught everything you needed to be successful in the beauty and hair care business, plus. Mrs. Malone was not just interested in developing your skill. She wanted to arm women and young ladies with methods that would build self-esteem and self-respect. You were taught to press, to curl, to wave, to finger wave, cold wave, weave hair, make wigs, give facials, manicures, provide pedicures, sit, stand at your station, what conversation is appropriate in a salon and what was not. Ms. Malone also offered each graduate an annual 1-week training. If you could get there, she provided everything you needed for 1 week, and you paid nothing for room and board. For as many people as Mrs. Malone trained, that's a large commitment. Peoria was a way of life that Annie Malone advertised, and it provided the financial wherewithal to lift a race. Peoria agents could earn 10 times more than a domestic worker or a laborer. In 1910, Malone expanded a third time, finding her second St. Louis location at 3100 Pine Street. From this location, the Peoria brand became well known throughout the United States and much of the world. Malone advertised the Peoria College way of life and her products on posters, in newspapers, among the burgeoning black press, in churches, in their bulletins, in their fans, their souvenir books, mail order catalogs, even the Green Book. That was a book that was a customized travel guide offering black motorists information on where to safely find services and make stops throughout the country, and be assured that they would be unmolested with discriminatory practices. From 1910 to 1942, St. Louis suffered from restricted housing covenants. Despite a 1917 ruling by the Supreme Court declaring such practices unconstitutional, there were 378 race-restrictive housing agreements made in St. Louis. It makes my head hurt trying to imagine how a black woman operating a business in the early 19-anythings could move forward to accomplish what we now know she did. She had to be brilliant, if for no other reason than to survive the race she ran. Still, Annie Malone made plans for the future. She dreamed of a facility that would serve her company, serve her school, and serve the community. She purchased several parcels of land on what was then the outskirts of the city for her dream, possible expansions, and for her employees. She planned for her fourth expansion. The jewel of her empire was a manufacturing complex she would build from the ground up. November of 1918, the Poro College Complex would open its doors to the public. That was at 4300 St. Ferdinand and Pendleton in the Ville neighborhood of St. Louis, Missouri. It was known to many as the Poro Corner. The building was magnificent. It had electric lights, electric elevators, indoor plumbing, large, spacious lobbies and corridors. It features instruction rooms equipped with the most modern instruments that were made. Meeting rooms that also were available to the public. An auditorium with seating for 800 people. A cafe that accommodated 200 people. A bakery and ice cream parlor that would also accommodate the public. Labs and file rooms, shipping office, a sewing room, 100 guest rooms with no two rooms alike. 2 emergency rooms, beauty parlors, laundry, reception rooms, refrigerator units, low pressure boilers, a fleet of cars and chauffeurs, and an outstandingly beautiful rooftop garden in one building built by one woman for her community. Newspapers from around the country described the building in grand statements. The Kansas City Sun proclaimed the building amazes the world. The Afro-American newspaper wrote, Poro College, a big enterprise. There was a week-long opening celebration for the college, complete with dignitaries from all over the world. The world seemed to be clear then that this enterprise was a real asset to the community. It offered something serious to a whole community of people. So advanced were the business systems of Annie Malone and her desire to constructively impact economic conditions among members of her race that she organized an enterprise that resembled a welfare association for the Poro family. Every employee was a member. There were 9 different committees, complete with chairmen and elected officers, forming a cabinet that would pay, in their mid-20s, a sick benefit. How many people here were working before your companies paid a sick benefit? Quite a few of you. That's not as old as people think. The complex that was the manufacturing complex employed about 175 people. Black people in the early 1900s couldn't even be considered for the kinds of jobs that she offered. There is one facet in the description defining the word achievement that interests me the most. It's that part of the definition that recognizes you must overcome difficult challenges, times, and people. Some you might know and some you might be related to. In order to adequately assess your achievements, you must take a look at what hurdles you had to overcome to attain them. I'm going to ask for a little audience participation here. Please close your eyes. Recall what life was like for you and your family in the first 6 months of the current pandemic. Imagine that your business was already in the first 5 months of the biggest expansion it had ever undertaken. What was it like for your business during this first 6 months? Did you have difficulty getting supplies? Did you have trouble getting enough people to show up for work? Is your company losing money? Or are you having trouble trying to figure out how to keep your clientele? Now, open your eyes. Imagine that you are Annie Malone in the first 6 months of the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. She still managed somehow to open her manufacturing complex in November of that same year. She was right in the middle of the Spanish flu pandemic. Here are a few other hurdles Annie Malone managed to overcome. In 1927, it's the very thing that Akbar talked about. Her marriage to her second husband was unraveling, and he sued her for divorce, asking the state of Missouri to take the poor old college into receivership and decide in his favor that the business should be his. Annie Malone settled out of court. She gave her husband $200,000 and additional property to go away so she could keep the poor old college. In 1927, Annie Malone voluntarily assisted the Red Cross in St. Louis after a devastating tornado tore up the north side of the city. She helped feed and shelter some 5,000 people with the resources of Poor Old College. In 1929, everybody knows what happened. The stock market crashed and it affected everybody. But in 1930, Annie Malone decided St. Louis is not the place for me. I've sustained a very ugly divorce. There's a lot of bad blood here. Things are not quite back to what they need to be. And she decided to pick up the roots in that beautiful building that she built and go to Chicago in 1930. She took about 100 people with her in caravan fashion, bought 3 additional buildings on Parkway in Chicago, and had 4 mansions in a row that she rooted her business in and started her empire all over again. One of the other things that she sustained very early in her career was having a trusted employee to claim her wonderful hair grower, better known as Madam C.J. Walker. That's hard to swallow. Annie Malone undertook 5 different business expansions and trained 75,000 agents in her lifetime. From the start of her business, out of a one-room shack in Lovejoy in 1900, to her return to Illinois in 1930, and her death in 1957, she exemplified excellence in all that she did. I think it is more than clear that Annie Malone was an achiever. I have a refrigerator magnet, and I particularly enjoy it. It displays the words of Maya Angelou, and it reads, "You will never know how great you are if you always try to be normal." I think Annie Malone never concerned herself about being normal. I don't even think she was extraordinary. I think Annie Malone was a phenomenal woman. And I thank you for allowing me to share a little bit about her with you tonight.
All right, let's give another round of applause to Linda Nance and Egbara Bryson. And a reminder, there are books for sale about Annie Malone. At this time, before we bring on Denise Moore with our honorees, we want to acknowledge just a couple more people who I didn't acknowledge earlier. And somebody is celebrating a birthday today? Is that what or what's their name? Do you know? I don't have the, okay, who is it? Whitney Jensen. Can we sing Happy Birthday to you? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Whitney Jensen. All right.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being here tonight. This has been, for some of you who saw me the before and after of me, I clean up pretty good, don't I? There are some folks who came very early and I was running around and I didn't look like this, okay? But I really thank everybody for coming here tonight. It's been very challenging with what we're dealing with this COVID pandemic, thank you. And it's been very challenging, and up until about 2 days ago, we were still trying to decide if this was going to happen. And I got a lot of encouragement from a lot of you. I said to someone earlier today that I spoke to most of the folks who were coming here, and clearly, easily 80%, if not greater, but 80% that I can verify were coming here fully vaccinated. So give yourself a hand. So I thank you for that. I'm not going to delay this, but I do have to, before I talk about the honorees, there's some other people I need to talk about first, and that's my staff. I usually wait till the end to thank them, but I need to thank them because this does not happen without them. You know, people talk about Denise Moore this and Denise Moore that. Yeah, well, anyway, there are other people who make this happen. They make me look very good. And so I want to recognize them while they're here, while they're still here. I ask someone to get Shalandra in here. But the people in the room, I first will thank Wanda Patterson. Wanda, stand up. Wanda is the person that you see when you first come in the door. Thank you, Wanda, for everything that you do. You represent us very well. The next person is Tanika White. Tanika, please stand up. Tanika is a program manager, as you probably saw on the screen. Tanika keeps us financially in order. She makes sure that I bring back all the receipts and get all the W-9s and signatures. Thank you, Tanika. Yes, I'll do that tonight as well. And also Shalandra Parker. Is Shalandra? There she is, Shalandra. Shalandra is also a program manager, but she's a person who does a lot of the one-on-one consulting with business owners, and she gives them homework regularly, and she is serious. Don't ask her to be an accountability partner if you don't want an accountability partner, because she will hound you till you tell her to stop. And both Shalandra, Shane Parker is her husband. Is Shane still in the room? Is he outside? Shane Parker is her husband. He is just as much of a partner with Shalandra. And Chris White, Officer Chris White is here as well. He is Tanika's husband. He's shaking his head like he doesn't want to be recognized, but you've seen him in his uniform. And I acknowledge these folks because it's like a family in our organization, and both her husband, Shalandra's husband Shane, and Chris have hauled stuff for us because, they said, well, Denise needs this moved, and, we can't move it ourselves, and, these big, strong men come in and help us out, so thank you guys. But I also want to thank someone else who I have to remind works for me, and don't tell him I told you, but he does work for me, even though he claimed to have retired. And as I said, we have to thank our spouses because they do offer a lot of help for us and with us. So thank you, Gary. I appreciate everything you do. So I'm going to keep it moving. So the first honoree that we're going to recognize today is Nathaniel Randall. And as written for me, back when dinosaurs ruled the earth, when Gary was a college student at Bradley, he and his classmates would sometimes venture off campus and explore Peoria. As black students, they were always looking for things that would make them feel whole. One thing that they couldn't find on campus was hair care products. By the 1970s, Annie Malone's Poro products had given way to Afro Sheen, Soft Sheen, Murray's, and wave caps for men. And for the ladies, it was bobby pins and barrettes, the pink curlers. You remember those pink curlers? To snatch your hair out. Green bergamot and other forms of grease. Before there was, well, anyway, we know what grease is, right? Walking into In-N-R Beauty Supply on Western was like a homecoming. Nathaniel Randall and his wife Rosie had the vision and dogged determination to establish a business for our community. With the turbulent 60s as a backdrop, In-N-R Beauty Supply was a cultural center, reminding us of our identity and helping us achieve the look we were going for. Those looks changed over the years from processes to afros, permanents to weaves, and the Randalls were there every strand of the way. Tonight, we honor those pioneers who blazed the trail as straight as a part on the left side. It started with Rosie, the beautician, doing hair and selling products out of her home, Nathaniel traveling to Indianapolis to buy products wholesale, then the two of them finding a location on Western in 1969. One of Gary's classmates was Freddie Luster, a future heir of the Luster Hair Care Products, company out of Chicago. He might have gone there a time or two to see if his dad's products were on the shelf. What a business lesson for a black student discovering a business that pressed the point that black is beautiful. A place where Rosie not only whipped butter and touched up hair, but touched the lives of thousands of women over the course of more than 40 years. She never burned ears, but bent those ears on those in her chair with encouraging words. Rosie had generational customers, from first the mother, then the daughter, then the granddaughter. I did your grandmama's hair, she certainly would say to a little girl in pigtails. Tonight, we cherish her memory. Nathaniel Murray says he wore an afro in 1969, got a Jerry curl and thought about getting the California curl. Mr. Randall just turned 87. Let's recognize that age, 87. And he is with us here tonight. Did he leave, Mr. Randall? Okay. Let's stand up and give this man an applause, because he has done a dialysis and he is under doctor's care, and he is here tonight. Thank you for being here. So at this point, we would like to, if he's able, to come up and receive your award, and if not, your brother can certainly come up, or your daughter. Who's going to come up and receive it for Mr. Randall? Let's welcome both his daughter, Gail, and his brother, Charles. Which one are you all? Both of you all then. Come on, both of you.
Good evening. Yes, I need that. Okay.
As she said, I am Gail Randall, the daughter of Nathaniel and Rosie Randall of N&R Supreme Beauty Supply. And our business has been in business for 52 years. My mother started her beauty supplies and business in the basement of our home, and then we shortly moved from there to 623 South MacArthur Highway, which was directly across from the old Beulah store, if anybody remembers that. And then from there, we went to 609 Southwestern when the Warner Home Development came in and we had to move. But through all those years and all of the people that patronized our business and came in and bought hair supplies or sat in our chairs to get their services, the Randall family of N&R Supreme wants to thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so very much. My brother, thank you. This is my Uncle Charles.
I'm Charles Randall, and the Randall family, we come from a long line of entrepreneurs. We started out in Mississippi back in the 1940s, and we were bootleggers. That's not an honorable business. My father got busted when he came to Peoria to start the a distillery, and it burned down, and we had front page expose, and we were told to go straight. And my father did not go to jail or anything, but because he had 12 kids to support, and that's part of the reason he started bootlegging business. But the most important thing that we learned from that, and the inspiration that we got from that, is that we all became entrepreneurs. We own construction companies. We own beauty shops. My first job, returning from Vietnam, was working with my brother. He had stores in St. Louis, Chicago, Bloomington Normal, Galesburg, did I say Champaign, a number of others. We had small stores. And that was one of my first jobs, and was inspirational because my other brothers went into various businesses, skating rink, barbershops, beauty shops, bars. We had a number of. My brother, with his and Rosie inspiration behind that, between Chicago and St. Louis, there was over $3 million annual income that came in from his businesses. That is something that was inspirational to us, me personally, myself. I got into the financial world. I have excellent people as mentor and friends, board members, Larry Irie, Rachel Parker, and some of the ones that served on the board of directors with us. And that is a testimony to sticking together. The most important thing is about business and inspirational being in business. You're inclusive, not exclusive. And you have to adapt to change. And that's one of the things that we got accustomed to and very blessed, because our foundation is based upon our religion belief. We had a strong family nucleus and family, mom, dad, that supported us. So I would just want to thank the Moores for what they are doing in this event. This is something that beyond comprehension, because we want to encourage them to continue to do what they're doing in this community.
Amen.
Along with Larry Irie, Rachel Parker, and other elected people that are doing great things for this Peoria community.
Yes.
We have great and tremendous opportunity, but we have to have vision, we have to have resilience, we have to have persistency, just like we've been honored today to recognize Anne Malone and her tenacity and not giving up and seeing opportunity and taking advantage of those opportunities that are presented to you. We earned it, and we deserved it because we worked for it. So let's go out and do the work. If you want to be entrepreneurs, do the work.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Amen.
Back in 1967, in the days leading up to the formation of the Black Business Alliance, I was busy putting the finishing touches on the BBA mission statement. What did I say? Oh God, I was a baby. 97, thank you, Cary. I've been very busy. It feels like I've been doing this since 1967. I was busy putting the finishing touches on the BBA mission statement, talking to the inaugural board and making phone calls to potential members, donors, and community stakeholders. I was trying to launch a brand new business organization in Bloomington. One of the people I called was Larry Ivory, the then president of the Phoenix Business Association in Peoria. Larry's organization was comprised of people interested in business and finance. Larry also had a sharp interest in the connections between politics and economic development. While the BBA would go on to establish a radio station in Bloomington and later in Peoria and open the Minortiy Business Development Center, Larry's organization grew and became the driving force behind the Peoria Black Chamber of Commerce. Under Larry and his wife Janice's direction, the Black Chamber year after year brought thousands of people to the Peoria Civic Center for an expo that showcased all kinds of vendors, from little girls selling lemonade to Fortune 100 corporations, not to mention information booths, entertainment, enlightening breakout sessions, and a chance to have direct dialogue with political office holders, learn the keys to success from America's most prominent business leaders, and recycle dollars and have your own story told by Black media. Moreover, Larry is a consummate lobbyist at the state and federal levels. If one were to take inventory of Larry's efforts and place a tangible value on the impact he has had, the pressure he has put on office holders, corporate bosses, and other stakeholders, imploring them to invest in our community, the Larry Ivory effect would be in the millions of dollars. Having Larry fight the economic battle for us at the federal and state level is like winning the lottery, literally. Because it was Larry who poked the Illinois lottery to buy time on WPNV. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in honoring the President and CEO of the Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Larry Ivory. Excuse me, Larry and Janice Ivory, because if it wasn't for Janice, there would be no Larry, trust me.
First, let me give honor to the Almighty, the Father of all things and the Creator of all things. Let me also acknowledge the great leadership of Denise and Gary Moore as they have become the vanguards of helping Black businesses to get to the next level. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Let me also just acknowledge Akbar and the incredible campaign that he has done to educate us in terms of Annie Malone. It has enriched all of us to understand who she was, and she was one bad sister. You know, she made it happen against all odds, and I want to thank Akbar and also the Linda Mintz, who has done a great job of educating us also. Again, I want to give you guys a round of applause for your great leadership. Akbar, I come from a farm, so you and I are going to talk about some farming things too, okay? Let me just say, I'm going to be quick in my comments, is that one of the things I would convey to anyone is that as we take a look at the current situation of black businesses and black people, is that we have to understand who we are. And we are the original. Everything else is a copy, ladies and gentlemen. And one of the things I just want to say is that a comment that I've heard so often, that I use often, it says, believe there's a purpose for being, believe that you can make time stand still, and know from the moment you try, if you believe you can, you see, you can, you will. And I want to have my wife to say hello, because without her, I couldn't do this, because at the times it can be challenging, and you got to have a partner that believes in you enough to give you the opportunity to do what you sometimes feel like no one else understands what you're doing. So at this time, my exceptional, I married up, she married down.
Thank you. He is always putting me on the spot. I thank you. We really appreciate this honor and this award, because I know that he works tirelessly to assist black businesses across the state of Illinois. And many people don't know all the things that he's doing behind the scenes and all the things he's making people do to make things better for all the businesses. So I just want to thank you again for this honor.
Thank you, Larry and Janice. We really appreciate that. Most people don't know that before the Black Business Alliance here in Peoria was started, before the Minortiy Business Development Center here was started, before I started the WPNV radio station, Larry and I had sat down and had a conversation, because sometimes we believe that there can only be one. And Larry and I understood that the Minortiy Business Development Center and Black Business Alliance was not in competition with Phoenix or with the Black Chamber of Commerce. Rather, there was so much work that needed to be done, there needed to be a number of us. And as I tell people all the time, you drive down any major thoroughfare, you will see Burger King and McDonald's and Wendy's and every other burger joint right next door to each other. And guess what? All of them have a line. We can coexist. There can be more than just one, because we all need each other. Like father, like son, no truer statement speaks to the successful journey of Leo Carrie Brown Jr. A native of Chicago, Cary was raised in Rockford and later moved to Peoria. After experiencing some challenges, Mr. Brown left the area and returned in 2012. He knew that what he wanted to change in his life, work hard, and make sure he was never a burden to society again. When he returned, his father took him under his wing and taught him everything he needed to know about trucking. Working alongside his father, he not only learned how to operate trucks and maintain logs, but he also learned how to manage his father's business. The next year, 2013, he started his own trucking business, but continued to manage his father's business until his father's passing. Today, Carrie Brown Trucking specializes in general hauling and construction, and over the years, he watched it grow. He attributes his success to his father, Mr. Leo Brown, and was one of the first African-American entrepreneurs in Peoria to land a big construction contract on I-74 for general hauling and building materials for construction. Like father, like son, today Cary still applies what his father taught him and maintains his focus. And to that we say, keep on trucking. Please join us in welcoming Carrie Leo Brown Jr.
little nervous. When I was sitting there thinking, I got so many people in this room to be thankful for. Most of all, I got to give honor to God, who is the head of my life. I came, like I said, when I was sitting there thinking, this is the second time I spoke in this room. First time I spoke was through Rexco. It was a program, back in the society of being incarcerated. And I was in that group, and Miss Bryson nominated me as one of the students and one of the people in that program to speak. And I guess I'm thinking about how much that I've grown, how much has happened, and on this day, just so much. And I guess I'm kind of wondering and thinking, trying to get this right. And let me slow down a little bit. The Rexco program back in the society was, I did time in prison. And it's for some mistakes I made, choices that I made. And in that introduction, they were talking about that I didn't want to be a burden to society. Because doing time, I was a burden to society. I didn't want to come out the same that when I left and what I had done. I didn't never want to be able to ask and have society to give me or to take care of me. All I wanted was the opportunity to take care of myself. And as I look around, there's so many people that God put in my life that gave me them opportunity. I was talking with the people at my table with Chris Dillon. He gave me that first contract to start my company, and just them. And I can look back so many people that God placed in my life, and I think it was an achievement, and I got to thinking to myself, achievement, 10 years, what did I achieve? It went so fast, I don't even look like I achieved nothing. But then God told me, you can't achieve when you're blessed. I was blessed. So it was going to come regardless of what I did. All I had to do was stay focused on what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to go back to. I didn't want to go back to nothing. I didn't want to go back to them telling me what time in the morning to get up, what time in the evening to eat. I knew for myself that I could take care of myself as a black man, as being given the opportunity that I was given through being dedicated to God, being trustworthy, to being obedient. God will open up doors that no man can shut. God will make room for you that nobody. And I'm blessed to be able to say, as a black man, I thank God for so much. I thank God for the people that he put in my life. Because without them doors would never have been open. Them doors would never have been there. But I thank God for them. And it's so blessing to be able to look back to a Larry Ivory. Like you said, there's so many people. I couldn't name all the people. Larry Ivory was one of the first, on that bayou, was my father. He was the first one that gave my father the opportunity. There was $1 million contract. And I started with Dylan. He started out, he said, well, I'm going to try you out. And that's all I wanted was an opportunity. Because if you gave me the chance, I'm going to do what it takes. Because I'm used to work. I wasn't afraid to work. Sometimes we make the wrong decisions. But now I thank God that I'm making the right decision. I thank God for the opportunity to be up before people that now that we are peers, that I don't have to feel like I'm less than, but I'm equal to and greater in God, because we're all one people, and we're all blessed to be able to see another day.
I feel like I need to say amen. Okay? And oh, by the way, Carrie Brown and I attend the same church, and I keep telling, every Sunday I say, man, you need to teach a class on how to dress, because he is, talk about cleaning up nicely after he gets out of that truck. Oh, yeah. At this point, we're going to bring up Michelle Sanders, who's going to talk about the wine pool. Michelle? While Michelle is making her way to the stage and Gary's inching over to me to try to yank me off of this stage, he knows better than that, because I'm going to stay right here. I do want to thank some people who are here before they leave while we're waiting for Michelle to come up. There are some people in the room that have made the Minortiy Business Development Center a success, and I want to acknowledge them and really have them stand and be recognized. Tommy Arbuckle. Where's Tommy Arbuckle? Tommy Arbuckle, thank you. Point Court Construction, AFB Construction. Tommy has been there with our Minority Contractor Development Program. He and his wife, Monica, who is sitting right next to him, they have been there every step of the way with the Minortiy Business Development Center Contractor Development Program. I don't think anybody here is here from Ameren, but Ameren made it possible for us to put that program on, and I really appreciate Ameren doing that. Also in the room, the Minortiy Business Development Center, quite honestly, would not be the way what it looks like today had it not been for Busey Bank. And Andy, please stand and be recognized for Busey Bank. Andy didn't know I was going to call him out. Quick story, I'm where I am because Mark Joseph, who some of you knew, who before he retired, pointed me to that location, and it didn't look like this, Andy, at all. And so we put a lot of money into it, and with the help of Busey, Southside Bank, and then Busey Bank, we have been able to stay in that location and make it beautiful. So I hope you all come by and visit us. Also, I'd like to thank a lot of our board members. If you're in the room, please stand and be recognized. I see Ambrose McCall from Henshaw and Culberson there. Ambrose. Monica Arbuckle, AFE Construction, Ken Anderson from SEVQ, Rachel Parker, our clerk, county clerk. Thank you all for being here. Any other board members here? Thank you. Pat Robinson, thank you, Pat Robinson. Pat Robinson retired from Caterpillar after 33 years. He's our chief IT officer, our chief technology officer for our board, and he's about to take us to the next level. Thank you, Pat. And then Michelle Sanders is also on our board. So Michelle, let's take it away with the wine pool and the raffle, if we have any, so we can let these people party and drink for the rest of the night. Thank you.
A lot of you didn't know that's my big sister over there, and my other one's way in the back doors. We're going to do the 50-50. We do this every time when we're in person. And the envelopes on the table. Thank you. For those who would like, so we have 3 ways that you can contribute. There's envelopes on the table. So if you'd like to make a donation to the BBA and the Minortiy Business Development Center, there's envelopes on the table. There's also going to be a 50-50, which we do all the time, and Shalandria is going to help me work this side of the room, and I'll be on that side of the room. And then we have, after everything is all over and Denise does the closing, the wine pool. We do this as well. It's one of the little traditions that we have. $20 for a pool. Now, I'm not going to guarantee you're going to get a $100 bottle of wine, but that has happened. So feel free after Denise closes out to meet me in the back, and we can do the wine pool. But right now, we're going to start with the 50-50. So remember, if you want 6 tickets, $5. 12 tickets, $10. And 18 tickets, $15. All right, is everyone ready to give? You got 3 different ways. Okay, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gary while we work the room.
All right, and while we do that, we're going to bring our band back on stage. And we also wanted to point out there's an important date coming up. It is October 11th. That is the deadline for the State of Illinois Back to Business Grant. The State of Illinois has some, $250 million in grant money. Grants are things that you don't have to pay back for businesses who were adversely impacted by COVID. So if you know of someone who has a business, or if you have a business that was adversely, negatively impacted by COVID, you are strongly encouraged to visit us at the Minortiy Business Development Center, 2139 Southwest Adams, and we will make sure that that application is made so that you can be in the running for some of that relief money. As the band takes the stage, I think we would also want to perhaps have Reverend Butler come back up. Reverend Linda Butler, if you could make your way back up to close us out.
While we're waiting for Reverend Butler to come up, I do want to indicate that in your program, there is a donor wall page, so you see all the names of all the people who have donated at certain levels. You can be there too. Just go to our website or drop us a check in the mail, or on the table there is an envelope that says name, address, and phone number. You can put something in the envelope and leave it on the table. We'll collect it on the way out. We do appreciate everything, all the donations. We are a 501c3 organization, so you will get a letter in the mail thanking you. So without further ado, Linda Butler will close out the official part, and then we're going to bring up folks for the 50-50 raffle. So if you put money in for the raffle, don't go away, because you just might win something. Thank you.
Gary said stand. Yes, he said stand, please, if you would. Yeah, if you're like me, getting up was okay. It was good. It made my way up here, and for some of you who are going to be participating in the rest of the festivities, you can kind of begin to shake it out so you can get ready for what's left. It's been a good evening. I hope you counted among your many blessings today. So with that, let us give thanks. Once again, gracious God, you have shown us what it's like to be in your presence. And you have shown us what it's like to be up under your grace and your mercy. For we have recognized great achievements which many said could not happen without you giving them the skills, the resources, the passion, the resilience, everything, oh God, that's necessary, the vision, the spiritual need, everything, oh God. You have taught us tonight what achievement is all about, and we're so grateful. Continue, oh God, to bless this community, and especially those that are doing great things around the world. Be with Agabar and also with Linda as they continue to tell the world of this wonderful story of Annie Malone. Again, we conclude this evening as a time of celebration and giving thanks for all that we experienced tonight. Be with those who continue to lead us. These things we give thanks in Christ Jesus' name. Amen.
So go ahead and sit down and relax. Don't leave yet, because we got to get the 50-50 raffle. The bar is still open to make it easy for you to continue to sit and relax. We're going to enjoy some music, and then in about 5 minutes, we're going to give all the 50-50 raffle, pull all those for you. If you need a raffle ticket, just raise your hand, and somebody will come over to you. Just raise your hand if you need a raffle ticket. Over here, they need a raffle ticket at the table number 6. They need raffle tickets. Raise your hand if you need raffle tickets. Raise your hand. Okay, ticket, table number. Oh, they're all over. I'm gonna come out and help.